You know what? I'm so used to talking to Eric Slepian about Social Security problems and how to solve them. But in the case of NFL disabilities, this is the first time we've ever talked about football. Why?
Well, we have a problem with what's called CTE, which is Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy. And it's caused by repetitive hitting to the head, causing brain damage. And it's very difficult to diagnose. The symptoms occur over time. And so we now realize that we have a problem. And
well, we've been hearing that football fans and non-football fans alike have been hearing about CTE in the last few years because of the tragic individual results of a long-term NFL career causing this kind of a problem because of the head injuries. What can be done about it?
Well, right now we're trying to figure out how to soften the blows. They're changing the NFL rules to try to prevent these type of injuries. But truthfully, at this point, we have no answers. This is an injury that is very hard to diagnose. In fact, you can't confirm the diagnosis until autopsy. And so in addition to really getting a good diagnosis, we don't have good treatment for it either.
Some of the NFL football players have actually willed their brains to science to do research. But Eric, what has this got to do with your specialty at the law firm that specializes in Social Security?
So we represent some NFL players, and one of the difficulties that these individuals face is that no one wants to talk about their CTE symptoms. They've been playing football. The symptoms are they become moody, irritable, have memory and concentration problems, and so they're not going to the doctors, they're not complaining about it. And when they do, they're often misdiagnosed with something like depression or a memory deficit instead of CTE. And now we have to struggle with getting a correct diagnosis, figuring out the best treatment, and documenting how that would affect somebody's ability to work. Often people with CTE, they're in a workplace and then some conflict arises and they respond inappropriately and they don't realize that it's due to a brain injury, and so they don't get the treatment. And it just makes it very complex to figure out the best way to get the treatment, to prove the symptoms, and eventually to get an individual with this injury on Social Security disability if they can't work.
So it makes it difficult to qualify for Social Security.
It's difficult to qualify with the impairment, but there's a lot of work that we can do to get that ball rolling, to explain it to the administration, and to eventually be successful on this type of claim.
What about the folks who have not had a career in the NFL or had sports injuries, but who have maybe had brain injuries that are similar? Can they come to Slepian?
They absolutely can. And, you know, brain injuries can be caused by many different things. The big difference between CTE and, say, a concussion is how quickly those symptoms arise. Usually in a concussion, they'll immediately start to experience nausea, dizziness, headaches, and those symptoms usually will resolve. It could be a year, it could be a couple of years, or it could just be a couple of days.
And let me remind everybody about where to go, where to call. Slepian Smith, disability law. That's one of the first things you should remember, particularly if it has to do with the problems that we've been talking about.